Uzo's Corner.
Hi, Hugh Jones here, aka Fox Control, and I'm about to give you a quick 7-step method on how you might create a track using Roland's Verselab MV1. Step 1. The first thing you'll want to do is decide on the vibe of song you want to create. This will inform things like the tempo and the palette of sounds that you load up into your Verselab. For my performance, I chose like a housey, electronica, pop kind of vibe. This meant that I would need certain vibes from my sounds, but also that my song would have to be at a fairly specific tempo. I chose 126 BPM for the piece. Step 2, that's setting the tempo. So if you did a hip hop song, it might be 90 BPM, or dubstep 140 BPM, or drum and bass 160 to 180 BPM, but I chose a housey sort of vibe, which is around the 130 BPM mark. For this performance specifically, it was 126 beats per minute. So if I press Shift, and then Sequence, which is the tempo button, and then I can adjust to 126 BPM, and there we are, all set. Step 3, to load up my palette of sounds. So I'm going to need a really thumping kick, nice bright hi-hat, some really subby basses, and some nice chords. So to change your kick sound, I selected kick, then press the value dial, which is also a button, went to preset, and then you can really just start scrolling through. There's an infinite amount of sounds here already coming in the box, and that's before accessing Roland's Zencore technology. Steps 3 and 4. Once I have my kick sound selected, I'll then quickly sequence a 4/4 groove, which will act as a metronome as well. I might also get a quick boots and cats feel happening. I played in the tambourine bit because it helped vary the velocity and add more of a human feel to the groove of my track. Now for the melodic parts. I just played these parts in using the pads on the Verselab, but you can actually attach an external keyboard or MIDI controller and play them in using that also. So I went to bass, and I got one of those classic house organ sounds. There's a huge library once again by pressing the value dial, going to preset, and just scrolling away. Infinite sound possibilities there. So then, once I had my sound, awesome. I selected a bass sound. Oh wait. Oh, here it comes. That's definitely got a sandstorm vibe in there. Awesome, bass sound. Let's record something in here. I'm not sure I got that first sound quite right. Let me add that in again. Awesome. So that was step 3 and step 4 melded in together. I was selecting sounds and sequencing up together. So you're really combining that sound design and composition process all in one element of your workflow here. Step 5. Now that we've got our sound selected and we've started to program up a sequence and we've got the basic vibe for our track, we can start to create variations of this sequence to help build a song structure. I do this by going to the section part of the Verselab workflow, and then you can see here we've been working on section 1. What I'm going to do is duplicate this across the bottom 4 sections by copy section 1 to section 2, enter. Okay, I'm going to do the same. Copy section 2 to section 3, enter. Okay, and then I'm going to copy section 3 to section 4. Okay, awesome. So now I've got 4 of the same parts. But let's create some dynamic variations for each of these parts. I'll select section number 2, I'm going to go to sequence, and I will take out the kick drum, and I might take out that horn sound as well. So now we've got a real sort of drop vibe happening. Then I'll go to section 2, and I might really want to lift this section. So I'm going to add an extra hi-hat in here. So after that drop, we're really going to raise the vibe. Awesome. Now I'll go to section 3, and I might do something like add in a big hi-hat again, really lift the roof off this one, and add in that really sizzling crash sound there. Awesome, that's going to be noisy. Part 6 to our methodology is to create a song structure using our sections. Now that we have all of these dynamically varied parts, we can start to arrange them into a song. We do this by going to the song part of our Verselab workflow. I press record, I select the first part of my song, and I'm going to load in the first sequence. Then I'll select the second part, load in the second sequence, third part, third sequence, fourth part, fourth sequence, and then at the end I'm going to bring it back down again by adding in the second sequence again. So if we go to the top, so now the Verselab will start playing through our song structure, and we've got a pretty macro sort of song structure happening here. What I might do is start to add things to build the vibe, so go back and start micro editing. This brings us to part 7 of our workflow, which is to go back and start enhancing and adding finer details to our track to really engage our listeners. I might do that, for example, by going to section 2, going to sequence, and I'm going to add a snare roll here to bring us back in after that drop. I do that by selecting the snare, and this time I'm going to select the style. So we've got this, we can get that classic snare roll sort of sound happening, and let's add that in. I can increase my sequence length by pressing edit and then this measure button, and then I just turn my dial here, go all the way to 128/16, exit. Now when I press record, and let's see how that sounds in our song. So if I go to my section, and I might halve the length of my section here. Awesome. Let's hear that. And what I might actually do is mix that down a little bit. So I'll go to my mix section here, turn my level down. Awesome. Now for the mix down part, I might even go to mastering, and here I can start to add things like limiting and compression and a little bit more EQ just to help just raise the vibe of what I'm doing here. A little bit more high frequency maybe, just to get that excitement happening. And then I'm all set for a performance. I can literally hit play at the start and the track will roll out. So that was just one approach on how you might use the Roland Verselab MV1 in your workflow. There is heaps to unbox here, and I'm sure you're going to find your own style on this device. Happy music making.